Relatively cool.
Here we go.
Okay, my name is Drew Kraus, and I'll be chairing today's meeting of the Community Housing Committee. I'm going to open the meeting by a roll call vote. Drew Kraus is here.
Marcia Bissell, here.
Myra
Sahanich.
Sahanich.
Here.
Lee Hamilton.
Here.
Okay, so there's a quorum, and the meeting is now open. This meeting is being recorded and live broadcast. I'm now going to read the remote participation rules. This is to formally advise that is required by MGL Chapter 30A, Section 8 to 25, pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency signed into law on June 16, 2021, is extended by the Chapter 2 Acts 2023. The Community Housing Committee will hold a public meeting at the time and place stated here in this notice. The public is welcome to attend either in person or via the alternative public access provided. Now the agenda. The first item on the agenda is committee business, and that's minutes. And in our packet, I see, Mary, you included minutes of our working group,
Yep, from June 9th, 2023.
and those are the minutes we're discussing. I looked at those minutes, they looked okay to me. How about, does Marcia or Myra or Lee want to change anything about the minutes? Okay,
Looks
so
good to me.
is there a motion to accept the minutes as written?
I was not here, so.
Okay, how about Lee or Myra? You were there at the meeting, Myra.
I'll move it.
Okay, I second that motion. Can we have a
You call by roll call vote,
roll call vote to accept the minutes?
and you can vote, even if you weren't there, you can vote out of necessity.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Marcia,
I'll accept.
okay. Lee,
Accept.
Myra,
Accept.
Drew, I accept. Okay, that has passed. Now, the second item here is membership. And Mary, do you, what do you have
So,
to say?
Josh Trot is here.
Right?
He's remoting in. He's interested in joining the committee. There were 4 people right now that are interested: Pam, Josh, John Barr, and Selvina Johnson.
Right.
So we haven't, unless they come in the next few minutes, John Barr and Selvina, we haven't met.
Correct?
We've met Pam and Josh. So I think that we should send a memo to the appointments chair recommending Josh and Pam,
Yeah.
noting the schedule that we think we're going to have 2 vacancies very soon.
Okay.
We have 1 right now,
Mm-hmm.
but we expect a second one coming up soon. Does that sound good to everybody?
Makes sense to me. Does anybody have any, want to discuss what Mary just said? Okay, so should we do a roll call vote to accept this idea, or?
I'd take a motion
Okay,
to recommend Josh Trot and Pam
okay.
for membership in the committee.
I move we accept Josh and Palm into our committee, the Housing Committee.
Myra or Lee, could you second that?
Second. Yeah, Lee speaking.
Okay, Lee seconds that motion. Roll call vote, Drew Kraus votes yes.
Marcia Bissell votes yes.
Lee,
Lee Hamilton votes yes.
Myra?
Myra Sahanich, yes.
Okay, that's unanimous, yes. Okay, now we're on to new business, and we have one item, which is the Yarmouth Commons conditions and rehabilitation following the kitchen fire that occurred a while back. And in the packet, Mary included the pretty complete report with photographs and data from the fire department about the fire. So what would you like to say?
So, the fire department issued a report on the date of the fire event, which was June 24th. It was about noontime, and it was at Yarmouth Commons. It was the largest building there, one of the largest buildings in Yarmouth, and on Cape Cod. It's a 3-story building with 30 units, and there was a fire on the top floor in a kitchen. So the stove was left on after, it was left on and the people left the apartment, and it was an accident. But it did displace all the households that were there. So the building has 30 units, there were 29 families there, and they all had to leave the building. What I wanted to report to you was that, a lot of people got assistance from Red Cross, the Needy Fund, St. Vincent de Paul, and right now, 21 households have been allowed to return to their units.
Well, that's pretty quick.
That's good, yeah.
We're going to
Thank you.
decrease the sound level here. Thank you, sir.
So there's 21 households that have been allowed to return. Some are still struggling with the condition of their units, but that they're working out with the property management company, which is Wingate. Some households are going to be out of their units for a while. So 3 of those households with the biggest damage have been offered units that are owned by the same company, Dakota Partners.
Let's see.
And so the other 6, I haven't received any update, but they were receiving some type of housing benefit from Wingate. It's my understanding that some of them were getting money to stay in hotels. But it all kind of depends. Each household is different, right?
Yeah.
Some have pets, some don't. Some are staying with family. Some are staying with friends. Some are like not comfortable where they are. Some want to come back. Some people don't want to go back into the building. So it's, something like that is a huge event. Wingate has done a pretty good job dealing with a very tough situation. Our building department, our fire department, our health department has prioritized all inspections having to do with this building.
Oh, good.
The fire department did a stellar job. Nobody was hurt. They, our building department and our fire department required sprinklers in that building for a
Yes.
reason.
Right.
And I know it's fire code and all of that, but they were really, really persistent about seeing a sprinkler system in that building that was gonna work, and it did.
Yeah.
So,
I noticed that right off, that their first indication was they were alerted automatically that water was flowing from a sprinkler head, right? That's very good. That
Yep.
caught my eye.
and I've been talking to as many tenants as possible, right? Because usually, we build it, the lottery's done, and I'm done, right?
Yeah.
So I don't have a complete list of tenants that are there, but I have about 20 names and phone numbers, so we've been talking. And it's quite a community over there. A lot of people, they moved in and COVID hit, so they all survived COVID. There was like this group of core people, they survived COVID together. So, when they saw smoke coming out of that door, they were banging on that door, trying to get in and making sure everybody was out. So, it's not a fun thing to go through to test your community, but I think, in the end, everybody's gonna be okay.
It's very good to hear.
That's good.
I noticed in the report, and you had mentioned to me, that there was a man in a wheelchair that had to be brought down from the 2nd floor by the firefighters.
Yep, and I think that might be something that is gonna get tweaked
Right.
in the future. So we already had one meeting with Wingate, with the police, the fire, the building, health department, staff, and Wingate management. I think a representative from Dakota Partners. Dakota Partners, the owner of the building, they zoomed in. So I think that we'll do a debrief, later on. And I don't want to speak for that household that, has somebody in a wheelchair, but, we might want to think about locating wheelchairs always on the first floor. We'll see how the fire department, the police department, and this household kind of feels
Right.
about it. Because they could not turn back on the elevator.
I see,
The water.
right.
And they couldn't turn off the sprinklers for, it's like all these different
Yeah.
things. They
of
couldn't do this, they
things.
couldn't do that, and they had to carry this gentleman down the stairs. And they did it, but we have an elevator for a reason, so
Yeah.
it's, you know what I mean? And we have a first floor for a reason. So it might be something that we discuss with the property management company in this household to see if we can plan that kind of, address that kind of stuff a little better in the future.
Okay. So, does anybody have any other comments about this particular item? Myra, Lee, or Marcia? Okay, if not, then we go on to old business. And the first item there is the Housing Production Plan presentation to the Board of Selectmen tomorrow evening at 6:30. And included in our packet is, I guess that's is a slideshow for the Housing Production Plan, right?
Yes, so we were originally scheduled for tomorrow, but we're not. We're not. It's August 1st.
Missed that.
Yep. There was a follow-up email. So, yep,
Okay, I
it's,
missed that.
it's August 1st. It's going to be about the same time, 6:30 to 7. Karen Sonneborg, our consultant, is going to be able to come either remotely or in person. We only have 15 minutes to make a presentation, and then we have some extra time for Q&As from the selectmen. But I was thinking, if you could tell me what slides you felt were vital to have in this. Karen Sonneborg often goes into the demographics and a lot of the background,
Yep.
and then gets into the action plan. And I'm just wondering if we should just go right to the action steps. I don't-
Well, when we think about the audience being the planning board,
It's going to be the Board of Selectmen.
I'm sorry, the Board of Selectmen, that's right.
Yeah.
They probably have a pretty good sense of the demographic shifts, and I mean, they're very knowledgeable about the town, just because of the role that they're in. So I don't know in terms of value added to them, whether that's going to be the most important thing. I'm tending to agree with you, Mary, that getting to the proposed action items are probably the most important part of it, especially if we're looking to reduce the number of slides that are used.
And what we could do is, we could give them this other demographic material as like a memo, and just have a shortened PowerPoint presentation. How does that sound?
Sounds good. I mean,
Question, Mary?
yes.
Drew, rather, did they get a copy of the whole report?
Yes.
Okay.
So Karen Sonneborg is going to make the 15-minute presentation.
Yes.
On the 1st of August, not
Yeah.
tomorrow. And, but we would want to highlight in some way the demographic changes, not in terms of, you don't know this, but just like
Yeah,
emphasizing it a
I
little bit.
think that, I like her slides.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
But I think if we put them in the PowerPoint, there's going to be a tendency to go through them.
Okay,
I think we should give them a memo and the PowerPoint and
Okay.
have it amended, a shortened PowerPoint, so we're not even like tempted to talk about the demographics. Because I know how things go. People get nervous and then they start just clicking and talking, and then all of a sudden, the
Okay.
half an hour will be gone.
I'm with you.
At the time, it's a short amount of time.
Yeah.
So the first action step slide is what? Which slide?
So I think that, we might not need slide number 2, which is the HPP components.
Right?
I think we do need slide 3.
What, okay.
What-
Does you want to
What's
set a basis?
What's a housing production plan, right?
Right?
And then what's affordable in Yarmouth? We need that. And then 5, we can put either as a supplement to this or as a separate memo. She's gonna want to keep 7, because that's community input.
Oh, right, yeah. What about slide 6?
Oh.
Key housing shifts,
housing
is that
shifts.
another one for kind of a backup slide or a?
I thought that could be a backup, but, because we have to put something as backup.
Okay, the point is you want to make sure that this is short and to the point, and the really important stuff gets covered in the time allotted.
Right.
Yeah,
So I think still, like, 6 is still kind of like, yeah, we have a housing crisis,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
yeah, that has to be put out in a forceful manner, but doesn't have to be dwelled on.
And they're gonna wanna see that, like, all of our work, reaching out into the community. I think that, we might be able to put slide 8 and 9 kind of, in the memo or an appendix.
Right. Because it's details.
But then when you start at 10,
Needs.
the needs,
boom,
we
boom.
need to keep everything from that point on.
Needs, goals, review of goals. Okay, those are 2 slides just on review of goals. I guess you say aspirational goals, so they're not, because you don't know, it means we don't know if we can reach these goals or not. I'm afraid
It's
that's
tough.
what that means, yeah. That's a way of saying that, I guess. Strategies.
So, right, so you have your aspirational goals, and then you have your zoning strategies, your
Right.
capacity strategies, your housing production strategies, and your housing preservation strategies. 18 is, you can delete that. So, I mean, we could put on hold the aspirational goals
Put on
And-
hold?
and just go, put that as a supplement and just go with all the strategies.
Yeah. Well, the aspirational goals are kind of a small print kind of a thing here, with a lot of, they're good to read, but they don't fit well in a punchy, short
Right.
presentation.
I think we should keep the priority housing needs, 10 and 11, but again, 12 and 13, put someplace else, either as a memo or a supplemental slides, and then just hit the strategies, which is slide 14, 15, 16, and 17. '18 we don't need, that's outdated. 19 we don't need. And even 20 we don't need. We need like a different,
A different capper, a different final thing to,
we could get through that if we, talk about what is a housing production plan, what's affordable, what we did, what our community input was, priority needs, and then our strategies.
it's okay with me. I don't feel like quibbling about these ideas. Even though I'm a quibbler at heart, but it's not the smartest thing to do.
It's actually 14 slides.
Still?
Yep.
Ugh.
It's a minute, essentially a minute a slide. So that
Okay.
just speaks to the, with 15 minutes,
Speaks to the need for
the need to.
paring down as much as possible, right?
Yeah, but I think got to leave the important stuff on it. You can't, so I agree with what you're suggesting here, Mary. But I just did that count because I know that, just from experience in doing presentations, that especially when you've been working on it and you live it, you breathe it, there's a lot you want to talk about, and yet the reality is, okay, 15 minutes. A minute a slide is not much. Because you also want to have, I think, open it up to have some questions and dialogue with the selectmen. I'm sure they're going to have a question or two.
How much time
I
will they
think-
devote for questions, do you think?
We have 30 minutes total.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So I figured 15
15
minutes.
for this,
Yep, and 15 minutes for their Q and
Okay.
A. And then if they go over,
then they go
It's
over.
on
They
to-
go over.
That's on them.
right?
And
But
they
we don't want to take 30 minutes in our presentation and not give them any,
want to give them a
take
chance
away
to
the-
go over.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Are you thinking of even more cuts as we speak, or are you pretty well set in your mind?
9, I'm going through 10, keep. 12, 13.
Are you counting the title card there? Number one?
Didn't count that one.
You're a smart cookie.
So I have, we're gonna keep, what I have that we're gonna keep 1, 3, 4.
One. Well, you were one,
Yep.
no, two. It's actually, yeah, 1,
3, 4.
3, 4,
7, 10,
7.
11.
The input.
10 and 11.
Priority needs, 11 more priority needs.
Oh, so I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt here. I included the summary of the survey results on 8 and 9.
Yeah, I'd love to
You're
do it, but I
thinking-
think we
I
should
think
ditch
it's going to be
them.
too much.
I agree.
Well, that's because it does give the backup. All right.
And
I
then,
guess if they drill down and ask, what about the, ask for more detail, we could
That's right.
have
Right.
these in the back and pull
you-
them up.
that's what I'll do. I'll put them in the back of this
Okay,
presentation. That way Karen can flip
That's cool.
to them.
yeah.
Okay. And then 14, 15, 16, and 17.
That's a very cool way to do it, yeah.
So that comes to 10 pages, correct?
That's 10, and there'll be an 11th that will be like the end, like
Right.
the one that says questions and answers.
Yeah.
Or
That'll be a
questions and
group photo
comments.
of us
Yeah.
saying, the end. You up for that?
Well, I'm sure Lee is.
Yeah. Or maybe it could just be Lee saying the end, you know?
Yeah,
That'd be
if
cute.
you guys can come that night, that'd be great. It really helps.
I'll
You
be there.
know, they're like you, they dedicate their time to the community and,
yeah.
and, they don't have enough time. I think that they love to know what the committees are doing, and this is super important. This is a super important thing for the town to have, because, if we hit our housing annual production goal, we can get a safe harbor from an aggressive Chapter 40B for 12 months. So, it's a big deal. And when, the governor is, planning for housing, they want to know that we have a housing production plan,
That's right.
so.
So we've reached a consensus on that item, I think, right? How
I
we're
would
gonna
say
proceed-
so.
How we're going to proceed on the 1st of August. I certainly plan to attend.
Karen Green should be there, the Director of Community Development. I'll be there. Karen Sonnenberg will be there.
And will the meeting be here?
And we'll probably put extra chairs out so we can all be a unified line.
I'm having guests, so I'll probably be attending virtually.
Okay,
Okay. Still counts.
Yep.
Well, the next, now we're on to B of old business. The proposed 40B project that they're calling the Matakeesit Village Apartments on Route 28. Application for site approval to Mass Housing, and Mary included the newest diagram, their site plan that they've come up with, interim preliminary site plan, which has changed a lot from the input that they've been getting. And do you have
Yep.
comments to?
Yep, so in your packet, you'll see it. It has the commercial building in the front of the property, 15 feet away from the street.
From the sidewalk, actually, to be precise. I'm quite sure of that, yeah.
I think you're correct.
Yeah.
That's right.
15 feet from the sidewalk. There's a residential building behind it. The closest it comes to the distance between the commercial building and the residential building is 11 feet. So that's a lot better. It was connected before. The residential building, it looks like it's 104 feet by 62 feet.
Yep, that's what it says.
And the retail trade building, which is the commercial building, is 90 feet by 45 feet.
Now, it doesn't say how many stories the buildings are. Do you know? Did they?
Don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That was another thing. Their original plan was a 3-story building on the street, wasn't it?
Yes.
I have a feeling that residential building is still going to be 3
3
stories.
stories,
Yeah.
but the way it's positioned,
At least it's back.
I thought it says somewhere in the report that it was 4 stories.
Oh,
Just
Four?
read that.
Whoa.
I,
Whoa. I didn't see that.
you heard, how did you think it was, what did you say
I
about
thought I
4
read
stories?
that in the documents, but maybe
Yeah,
I'm,
I'm not sure about that. I hadn't read that myself.
I think that there were parts of the application to Mass Housing that were different, like you might have seen that because they had things, not all of their application was consistent in the details.
That's true, yeah.
okay. Well, that's what I did read. I read that there was some,
Okay,
and I guess this is a work in progress, but I
Right.
guess there's been some changes. But I thought for sure I read 4 stories, but maybe I'm wrong.
maybe not. Maybe you're right. Yeah, I don't know.
So I typed up your comments from June 22nd. It's in your packet. It's part of this packet that has Mass Housing's letter on the top. And this was provided to the Board of Selectmen. And the Board of Selectmen are going to talk about this tomorrow and then again on the 18th. So here are the comments that I compiled from our discussions as a committee. So it says, members were concerned about the following. The 1.09 acre site is too small to accommodate 23 dwelling units, an oyster bar, and parking. So just let me know if you think that this plan has changed that comment for you. So I think that still holds, right? It's,
That it's maybe too small to accommodate 23 units plus, could you say that
it's an
again?
oyster bar and parking. So,
Oyster bar and parking, yeah.
I know.
Tight.
The parking,
Parking is,
yeah, I guess personally, adding the parking to that really
yeah.
is still a concern. Look, the parking doesn't look adequate to the naked eye, right?
Right.
We don't have, question?
Yeah?
They don't seem to have separate parking for the retail, the oyster bar. And
Correct.
the parking is just all kind of in with the apartments. That seems that doesn't seem like good planning to me. Because you can't have tenants not be able to get into parking spaces.
Right. Yeah, that was my concern with the initial proposal,
Right.
that tenants would be coming home and people would be having their dinner at the Oyster Bar and they wouldn't be able to park,
Right.
you know, without walking all the way to the back of the lot, from the back of the lot to their apartment.
Yep, so, and on that first comment, it said, you know, again, it's the 1.09 acre site is too small to accommodate 23 dwelling units, an oyster bar and parking. We can change that oyster bar to retail trade building.
That's right.
Because what I can do is I can amend this
Mhm.
and put the amendments in red, so they can see.
Oh, yeah.
The next comment about a concern was residential building is set too close to Route 28 with only a 7 to 11-foot setback. So we could probably strike that.
Yeah.
The site lacks playscape or open space for on-site recreation.
Well, they haven't added on-site recreation or play space. They have retained more trees, haven't they? Right, as part of this? I think they made a point of showing
It looks like they're showing more trees.
trees like, I remember them specifically thinking of that tree near
Yeah.
the street and to the right there.
Yeah. They'd have,
Gonna
to-
go,
yeah, that
but
was
now
gonna
they're saying,
go.
well, no, it's not gonna go. And to me, the only possible candidate for play space would be that triangular area that sticks out, but they haven't indicated anything there, so.
The architecture and site design is too urban and lacks the Cape Cod feel.
That still remains to be seen. I remember them saying, well, we're making it closer and closer to what
Yeah.
we want as we go along. I guess we're still in that phase, right?
The existing commercial building is to be connected with the new building. This makes the site design odd. An oyster bar is not useful to the people who live on the site. That was Lorraine's comment. She was really funny.
Yeah.
She was like, can't they put something that like the local residents can use? Sorry, Lorraine, if you're watching.
Oyster Bar.
So we,
Well, it won't be
Well, it's not connected
It's not
anymore, and there's
connected
11 feet,
anymore,
and,
and-
you know, I don't have a science of building distances, but 11 feet seems okay. But that's just
and the site design is far less odd.
Yes.
less odd.
It really is, so
Much less odd.
let's strike that one. And then this is from Lorraine, the studio units are too small to be useful and accessible.
I don't know. I'm just a question mark on that.
What is the size of the studio units?
I don't have my full packet with
I'm
me, I'm
looking.
sorry.
Okay.
To see if, I probably have it here somewhere.
Okay. It's not in here, huh?
So this is a really odd-sized lot.
Yes,
correct? I'm looking at
Studio
that,
with
yeah.
one bath, 522 square feet, I'm seeing here. Is that?
522 square feet.
Yeah. It's small, but
the studio.
studios are small.
And what was the suggestion of the comment? That they're too small for,
To be useful and accessible.
I don't know that that's true. I don't have a good feel for that. I can't,
Essentially, my well, with a studio is that you don't really have any rooms per se.
right?
It's an open floor plan, the exception being, the one exception being a bathroom
That's it, yeah.
with a door. Everything else is pretty open, open kitchen, table,
It's a one-room,
bed. Yeah, it's one room, so,
that's what studio means,
Yeah.
for sure.
So should we say the studio units should be fully accessible?
That's a good way to
Yes.
finesse it,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
yes. Are all these units going to be accessible?
They're universally accessible, but they're not gonna be ADA compliant per se.
Okay.
It depends what the building commissioner cites has the number of units that have to be accessible, like ADA compliant. And then also their funding sources would kind of dictate that, and also the zoning board of appeals could dictate that.
So,
Right.
so it may be that some units will have to be fully
Yeah.
ADA
Yeah.
compliant, I see. But nothing about that is certain,
Right.
okay.
So I think if we put the comments, the studio units should be fully accessible, I think that would address Lorraine's comment. Any other kind of like concerns before I go to what's on the positive side?
Well, just there has to be separate parking for the retail trade, not overlapping with the tenant parking.
Parking is a big sore thumb. that
How they
sticks out.
design that in their plan, I don't know, but design it or monitor it, because you can't have tenants displaced, and it looks to me like there's no parking around the retail trade, it's all around the apartments and one on the side. That's a strange sized lot.
Yeah, it's small.
I'm sure that there's a guideline within the town that states, I know it is, they have it for housing, I'm sure they have it for a restaurant with X number of seats in a restaurant, you must have how many ever parking spots. And I'm just curious, does it fit? Do we have the number of parking spots? It doesn't, I'd be surprised if we met the expectation or the guidelines that the town sets.
Right, because
That's a con-
usually for housing, it's 1.5
Oh,
per unit.
I see.
okay. So right there, you've got,
That's 34 units, and I think they have 30, do they have 37 parking spots? I count 36 parking spots. So, yeah, parking is an issue.
yeah.
And we do not want shared parking between the residential and the commercial.
That's the
use.
thing, yeah. Yeah, as I recall,
So I'll add that, I'll say, parking is inadequate, and at no time should the residential parking units, parking spaces be used for the commercial parking.
okay.
Any other concerns before we move on to the positives?
Okay, let's move on to the positives, Mary.
On the positive side, 1, the dwelling units were new construction with universal, in parentheses, accessible design.
That's positive.
The project proponent favors sustainable development with innovative, energy-efficient design. 6 of the 23 units will be affordable. Most of the units are studio and one-bedroom units, which will help meet local needs, housing needs, will help meet the local housing need of individuals and small households.
Yeah.
Because we're saturated with two-bedroom units. The site is located on public transportation and the Open Cape fiber optic network.
Huh.
The site is near other completed affordable rental housing,
Right.
and the site is appropriate for mixed-use development.
I agree with that.
And then
So
we're not,
6 of the 20 I'm sorry,
Go
do
ahead.
six affordable units out of the 23, does that meet the requirements for a 40B?
They said it
Yes.
does, yeah.
yeah,
I guess that's the minimum requirement.
so 25% have to be affordable. So when you multiply 23 times 25%, you get 5.75 units, which rounds up to 6. So 6 affordable units is what, yeah.
6 times 4 is 24, put it that way. And they only got 23.
And then on my comments to site plan review, and you don't have to put this in your comments, but it was noting that, you know, the site itself is near jobs, shopping, a supermarket, a pharmacy, and high-quality recreational facilities,
It is, yeah, that's true.
so.
Mini golf all around.
Mini golf, well, I was thinking of the beaches.
Yeah, the beach too.
But that's covered in my comments.
It's not much more than a mile from a beach, I would say, right?
It's just right at 1 mile.
Right at 1 mile.
So if that's good, oh, and that, efforts to keep, we can say that, the project proponent favors, the maintaining of, mature trees on the site.
That's pretty important, actually.
Yeah, because that strip is
Preservation.
pretty, 28 has a lot of areas where it's just sun. You know, there's very little shade, but then there are parts where there are trees, and it really looks nice.
That's exactly right, yeah.
The trees add so much.
So I'll add the 8 about the trees. And there used to be a Route 28 tree committee.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And, yeah, Dick, if you know Dick Martin, he was part of that. And they really went out and, like, they raised money, they'd negotiate, and a lot of those trees are there because of their
That's
work.
really good.
Oh,
And so when we see a tree and, you know, somebody's
yeah.
thinking of cutting it down, it's like, whoa, is there anything you
right.
can do besides that, you
That's
know?
really true.
All right, so
Thank
I
you for
can,
bringing that up on that walkthrough, Marcia, about the tree. That was really good, because it's so true, yeah.
Boy.
So the rest of these units are gonna be market rate,
yes,
okay?
which
So we
we,
really can't call them workforce housing unless people are in lucrative jobs, because they're not really, I mean, there's a need, I guess, but it's not really gonna accommodate.
when we get to that point, when it's before the zoning board of appeals, that's something that we can ask. You know, we can ask, well, can you give, you know, X amount of units for workforce, which would be kind of like medium income, not low income? You know, like, would you be willing to, you know, put aside a studio, a 1-bedroom, and a 3-bedroom for something that's 80% of area median income to 120% area median income?
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, because
The
they,
120, yeah.
because they're gonna be looking for all sorts of relief. So it's kind of like, well, you negotiate, the ZBA takes our comments and negotiates on our behalf.
I think that would be a good comment to make.
Yeah.
So we can say that now.
How are you gonna put it?
That in discussion, the committee also would like to see a number of units set aside as workforce housing, and that's affordable to households that earn 80% AMI to 120% AMI.
Thank you.
That's good.
We're defining it here in Yarmouth.
So workforce, the term workforce is still an informal term, right?
Yep, except the Mass Housing Partnership did fund a workforce housing program,
Using that title.
using that income range.
Okay, so it's getting a
Yeah.
Yeah.
official quality to
Yeah.
it, this term.
Yeah.
That's actually kind of important in a way, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because
It
it
is.
makes it easier to make these requests.
Right.
I
Yeah,
like
they're very
everybody, and it
specific.
means something real.
Yep.
Yeah.
So typically, people who earn between 60% and 120% are actually working. People who are in the lower end, that make only 30% of AMI,
Yeah.
they're usually on some type of social security, either retirement or disability. So I think that the state has kind of figured out that
I see.
the households at the upper end of the AMI, the 80%, somebody's working there,
Oh, yeah.
i.e. workforce. So,
Very good.
yeah,
That was very interesting.
yeah, because you can't say you can have this affordable unit if you're working. Why? Because you're discriminating against people who are disabled, who can't work, and you're discriminating against people who are retired, who are at an age that they don't work. So that's age discrimination. See, so it's clever. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so I'll redline that and send it in tomorrow to the
right.
select board. They think they're gonna discuss it one more night and then finalize their comments on the 18th.
So we've concluded our discussion, have we, of the proposed 40B Matakeesit Village Apartments?
Yep.
Okay. That takes us to C on old business, reports. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. And it says the chair's report. Well, I'm the temporary chair here. I don't have a report on hand, but
Except to
showing
save
me.
the date.
Mary is showing me something to report, which is save the date, second annual Housing to Protect Cape Cod Summit. Thursday, October 26th, at the Cape Cod Resort in Hyannis. So there you go. There it says you'll hear from businesses, workers, and community leaders to learn what you can do to help solve the Cape's housing crisis. It's pretty interesting.
Would you repeat that date again, Drew?
Yes, it's Thursday, October 26th, Cape Cod Resort in Hyannis.
So that's gonna be, hosted by Housing Assistance Corporation and, this new kind of coalition that's Housing to Preserve Cape Cod. Last year, it was full. There was over 400 people that went. Whoa. Yeah, so it'd be good to, put it on your calendar, and if you can go, to attend.
Is it during the day? Is it?
all day.
All day,
Yeah, it doesn't give hours here.
Yeah, it was all day, it was,
okay.
yeah. And the other date is, the Cape Cod Commission One Cape is July 30th and August 1st. And that's a regional conference on things of priority to the Cape. So that's economic development, water quality, housing, that kind of stuff.
That's sponsored by what?
The Cape Cod Commission. So I'm gonna go representing Mashpee. I'm not sure if I can go to both days, but that's interesting, too.
Well, any other announcements of that ilk? Okay, I guess not. So the next item is the Yarmouth Housing Authority, and I know something about that. Do you, what did you have in mind? Just to say
Yeah,
when the next
your
meeting was
report.
gonna be?
Yeah, your report.
The Yarmouth Housing Authority that I'm one of the commissioners, I guess, on there, is not having its next meeting, unfortunately, until July 18th. But the goal of that meeting will be to meet with the representative of the Mass Housing Partnership, who's called Laura Schufelt, and she and the Housing Authority will at that time try to set a date for the first public presentation of their plan for the Forest Road area that they own that surrounds the senior center. And that would be with the engineers that have done studies on the feasibility of building there, and on people that have done studies on how the water situation would be impacted by building there, and the public would be invited. And it's been delayed several months. Originally, that public rollout of this project was scheduled for maybe late April or early May, but due to unforeseen circumstances, the commission, the Housing Authority wasn't able to, got delayed just for, technical reasons not related to the project itself. So after July 18th, hopefully we'll find out how that project will go forward. That's it. That's what I got. Any
Interesting.
comments on that?
I think it's long awaited.
Yeah, it
Really
is.
good.
Absolutely, right. Okay, so the next item here is the Home Consortium.
Affordable Housing Trust.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Affordable Housing Trust.
So the Affordable Housing Trust meets tomorrow. Myra is a trustee. And a while back, the trust voted a budget of $120,000 to make awards of up to $40,000 to pay for pre-development costs of a parcel that's a gray field. So it's something that's underutilized, blighted, vacant, decrepit, and to support that redevelopment that would produce affordable housing. So there's pre-development funds available for redeveloping underutilized, vacant, blighted property in town. There's a priority for mixed use, that's commercial and residential, and the application is available starting tomorrow. So that's the big news from the trust.
Okay, that's good news. So now we go to number 4, the Home Consortium.
So yeah, we have, I have no news.
Okay.
Who's a representative of the Home Consortium?
Lorraine couldn't be here today.
So we'll have to skip to number 5?
If there's somebody interested in being the alternate to the Home Consortium, I'll send out the information when they meet. They have a great staff person, Renee Hammond, and they meet once a month for about an hour and a half, and they do it remotely. And they're the ones that fund, the home money is federal money, it's from HUD, and they fund developments like Yarmouth Gardens, Yarmouth Commons, across the way, Simpkins School. They don't have a lot of money, but what they have makes a difference to the budget. And it's hard cash. It's not financing. It's hard cash. And so what's nice when you're on the Home Consortium, you see what all the other towns are doing, because this money goes to all 15 towns. And it's like, it could be a housing authority applying for the money, or
I see.
it could be,
The Habitat.
Habitat, it could be, it could be something that's town-sponsored, and they need that extra 150,000 or more. So, if you're interested in, Lorraine's the representative, but it's always nice to have an alternative. The reason being, it takes so much time to appoint somebody to that role that it's always good to have 2 people from each town kind of involved in case Lorraine misses a meeting or something like that. They tend to have quorum issues so just let me know if you're interested.
They also got a lot of, a really big funding to
Yes.
develop different types of housing, and I don't know where they are in that planning. So that's something I've written into the community needs assessment plan that I'm working on.
Yep.
So that's a sizable pool of money. And I haven't heard any updates on what their plans are.
Yep. Yep, and I sometimes get them confused with the county. They want to have a regional housing office. I'm not sure if it's going to be funded by home or the county or be in the home office. sometimes
But that funding has gone to the home program,
Mhm.
and that's under the jurisdiction of the Barnstable County Department of Human Services. I used to be under Cape, the home used to be under Cape Cod Commission. That changed a number of years ago. So what they're doing with all that money, I don't know what their plans are. There's a number of different areas it can be used for.
They
And
just
Lorraine-
had a bid that closed, so maybe we'll hear more.
Okay.
These larger multifamily buildings, developments like that do very well with the home money. Because home really wants to promote rental housing. It kind of fits into their funding requirements. It's so many requirements from the federal government when you use this money. All right,
Okay, number 5, Planning Board.
is still working on the ADU. They had 3 listening sessions. I don't know if anybody went.
I went to one.
Did
yeah,
you?
Yeah. And
Did you listen?
they listened and I listened, and it was different than the first listening session. They addressed a lot of the opposition points or concerns that had been raised a couple of months earlier. And some of the same people that had raised those negative points said, "We really appreciate how you've addressed our concerns." But they also, they sort of reserved the right to go, "Well, even so, I'm not sure that," had that kind of a, that was the listening session that I was at, yeah. But I think they've done a pretty good job. My opinion, just my personal opinion, they've done a good job to try to make something that's broadly acceptable to people, that might make it a bit easier for somebody to build a ADU. But it isn't going to produce a flood of living spaces in the town, that's for sure. That's all I know about it, pretty
And they're
much.
thinking of bringing the bylaw to town meeting in May.
Yes, yep. I think that's their plan, yeah.
Okay.
Community Preservation Committee, next item. I don't have any
I'm the
comment.
representative, and I don't know if they've met or not. I've been neglectful because I've been in the middle of still working on this big project.
No meeting.
No meeting. I didn't think so. I was hoping there wasn't.
Okay,
So nothing to report.
all right. And then the next item is Department of Community Development.
Yeah, we've just been super busy with dealing with the fire and the Chapter 40B and, yeah,
You did a pretty good job with the fire.
busy.
Yeah.
So,
I witnessed Mary working on that, helping people get relocated.
You witnessed Mary working?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was very odd. No, she was working hard to help relocate
Good.
people right after that fire.
yeah,
Good.
it's tricky.
Yeah.
The last, and then item number 8 is CHAPA, Homes for Equity.
Haven't done anything about that.
Okay,
What I think I'm gonna do is, I've seen the new director of the NAACP Cape Cod, and I think I think we need to have them be the lead on that
okay.
and bring those people down, but maybe it can be hosted at the senior center or something like that.
All right. Now we're on to 4 upcoming meetings. So the presentation of the production plan to the Board of Selectmen will be on August 1st. And August 14th will be our next committee meeting. That's, all makes sense? Well, we're very close to this word adjourn. So does anyone want to throw any thoughts in here at the last minute?
I would just like to ask a question if there's
Okay.
any update on the house on my road that's been abandoned and trying to be reclaimed into the affordable. I think it's number 19 Plymouth Road. Is it number 19, Mary?
Yep, so what I was told, and I have to verify this, there was a legal ad in the Cape Cod Times about it. So probably about a week ago, week and a half ago. So, does anybody get the Cape Cod Times? Do you?
I got
you-
the online
Yeah,
version,
I
yeah.
got the online version.
Me too.
So
I didn't see it.
yeah, somebody told me last week that he thinks that it was listed for auction.
I'll check and see if I see that.
Oh,
So, yeah, we have to go through the legal ads, if everybody could help me look through.
okay.
I would say the last 2 weeks of the
Last
Cape
2
Cod
weeks?
Times, the legal
Okay.
ads. Anything on Rhine Road, Plymouth Road, Plymouth Road. This is, we're looking for 19 Plymouth Road, but anything Plymouth
2
Road,
weeks.
Rhine Road, or Dutchland Drive.
But why are you mentioning those other roads now?
Because the person reading it couldn't quite remember if it was Plymouth Road or Rhine Road or
Rhine
Dutchland
is-
Drive.
How's that go?
RHINE,
Like the
Rhine.
river, huh?
Yeah, and then
the other-
Dutchland Drive,
Dutchland?
Dutchland Drive.
Okay.
But he thought it was 19 Plymouth Road. He came up to me and said, "Oh, that unit, I think it's the one on Plymouth Road you've been watching."
It might
think I s-
possibly be on one of those other roads.
Yeah.
I thought you had been in touch with the bank, Mary, no?
I have not. I have not. So it's not the bank so much as the people who bought the lien from the town. So what I'm finding out is when the town auctions off these tax properties, they bundle all these things together. So the auctioneer bundles all these together. The town bundles these all together. So the people who buy these liens, they're buying other stuff too at the same time. So they might be interested in this significant parcel,
Yes.
but they have to buy all of them all at once. So, when something came up at 19 Plymouth, I did call the guy and he came over. I guess a door got busted in. And they did send somebody over to fix the door. He said, "We still own that?" I go, "Yeah, you do." And they don't own it, they own the tax lien to it.
Well, apparently there have been 2 houses that have been lost. And then there's 2 that have been abandoned. And 19 is one, and then there's the other one. I can't remember the number. It's across the
There's
way from
one
me
at the
that,
end of the road that no one's living in, there's a tree growing through it, I can't get. in
yeah,
touch
if you've
with
been down that road, it's
There's
just a
tree
mess.
growing through it, yeah. Okay, I think it's time probably to adjourn the meeting. Would you make that motion?
I move to adjourn.
Second, Lee or Myra?
I'm in favor.
Okay. Myra seconds.
By roll call.
Roll call vote to adjourn the meeting. Drew? Yes.
Marcia, yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Myra?
Yes.
Unanimously voted to adjourn the meeting. Thanks for attending
Thank you,
by
Drew,
Zoom.
for-
We had a nice
thank you.
quorum.
Yes, thanks for facilitating.